All right, folks, welcome to 7 Season Studios. This is a really exciting blog post for me. This is where I get the opportunity to edit your compositions. So thank you so much to Bill Otterbein for submitting this composite here. If you want me to edit your composites, I'm going to do one of these a week. You can submit down to submissions at 7seasonstudios.com, and I'll pick the ones that I really want to work on. Today, we're going to show you 5 tips to improve your compositions right off the bat. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, folks, welcome back to Affinty Photo. So today's blog is one where I edit one of your composites, and I'm going to show you 5 tricks right off the bat that you can use to make better composites in Affinty Photo. So this photo composite was done by Bill Otterbein, and he was kind enough to let me use it and edit it. And I thought that it had some really great elements. You guys know I love working in light. So I thought, why the hell not? Let's go ahead and edit this in Affinty Photo. So I'm not going to include Bill's work because, one, I don't feel that I have permission to do that. So take these 5 tips and use them in your own work, right? So this isn't a how-to. This is about 5 tips to improve your composites. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, Bill did some really smooth stuff here to begin with. He put the finish layer up above. So I'm just going to turn that off and lock it. And the first major tip that I want to use is we have to match perspective. So the image as it sits, there's a weird perspective right here, right? Where he's kind of hovering above the floor. And I know that he added in a little bit of shadow, and that was really good to kind of show the cast shadow. But when it comes to perspective, you want the horizon line in your image to match the background. So the first thing I'm going to do with this character here is I'm going to put them down probably closer to here. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold Control and make them a little larger and put him down here in the corner. And now this does 2 things for my composition. This pays attention to my rule of thirds. I've got a lot of interest over here. It really takes advantage of hiding that undershadow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear that out. And I might even bring him in just a little bit more now that I've cleared that out. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Control and up a little bit and down. Now it looks like he's much more in this scene with us. So the first tip I have, match the perspective in your photo from your original to your new. All right, so now the next one we've got, he took this image here of the moon, and it's really cool, but yet the windows don't have it. So it really lends a lack of continuity, let's say, between this image and the sides. So the next thing that I'm going to show you how to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to duplicate it one more time. And I'm going to move this over here. Now, with this side, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this upside down. And now, why isn't it showing up? Well, Bill did a really nice job of getting this layer here. So I'm just going to peel this up and I'm going to put it up above. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I really only want the cloud portion here, right? Now, there's 100 ways to do this. I'm just going to make a mask layer. I'm going to grab my soft brush. And I'm going to grab my color black. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paint that out. So make sure you're on the mask layer, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and kill that layer. All right. So that'll work. And one of the reasons I turned it upside down was because now I can move it around and it doesn't look exactly like a repeat of the other. If you wanted it to go even a step further, you could stretch it a little bit. And that'll give you a little bit of continuity. So we did that one. Let's go ahead and do this one. Bring that up above. Plop. And now let's go ahead here right about there. Same thing. Mask it out. And again, this is not a how-to tutorial on how to edit this particular photo. This is a tutorial about how to reuse some of these assets and how to make sure that you've got some really good interest in your composite. Right click, and I'm going to rasterize this. Right click, I'm going to rasterize this. And what that did, that destroyed the masks. All right. But that's okay. All right. So I think that I'm pretty good there. I'm happy with that. And over here, I'm happy with this. All right. Let's go ahead and erase out some of that. Now I'm just going straight up to erasing. Okay. All right. So good call. So first one, match the perspective. Second, reuse some of your backgrounds there to get continuity in your backgrounds. And then what I might do, just to take it one step further, because things in the background are, say, less clear and less crisp than things in the foreground, here's what I might do. In each one of those layers, I might go ahead, go to Effects, and I might blur that out just a little bit. Okay, cool. Let's do it to this one too. Blur that just a little bit. Layer Effect, blur. Oy. There we go. Problem solved, problem staying solved. Oh, we're editing blind there. Okay. So again, first one, perspective. Second one, reuse your backgrounds to get some continuity. Okay, now the third one. The third one is going to be volumetric light. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a pixel layer up above the subject here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my pen tool. And I'm going to click, 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 click. And then I'm going to add a gradient. So we're going to fill this thing. I'm going to come over to gradients. And the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I want to create kind of a light gradient. Now, if I want to, I can choose one of these colors that's around here. I really like that. So let's go ahead and choose that one as my first one. And then we're going to come, oops, over here just a little bit more here. All right. And now let's try this. All right. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and reverse that gradient. All right. That looks pretty good. Now, you think it looks like hot trash, right? Let's go ahead and layer it up. Come over to filter layer. Let's blur it. Let's Gaussian blur it. Boom. And drag the Gaussian blur inside the light. All right. Now, I'm going to click on Gaussian blur. I'm going to take this up to about 160. You have to hand type that in. And now, I'm going to come in with my node tool. And I'm going to make sure that it's consuming my entire subject. All right, cool. Pull that out. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to change the blend mode. Let's go ahead and average this thing out. And again, whatever you decide to do, totally up to you in terms of how you want to see this done. Oh, where's my average? Right about there. I really like that. I think that that's really good. And now I need to mask this because it's got some hard edges. So let's go and throw a mask layer on. Let's go ahead and go brush, soft brush, color, straight up black, keep the flow low. And now let's just grab the sides here. There we go. All right. Instant volumetric light. Now, I'm going to drop the low flow here real low. And where the subject is, we probably would not have as much light. Now, I'm keeping a little bit of it because you will still get some rim light on this individual. And you see how I'm grabbing this? And I'm not telling you that there's no light. I'm just telling you that it's going to be a little bit of cast. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Now, if the first one was perspective, The second one was background reuse. And the third was, I showed you how to do kind of a volumetric light. The fourth one that I'm going to show you here is to make sure that you've got a cast light. Now, when I say cast light, if the subject was here, we'd have at least a lighter area right around this area here. So what I'm going to do, I'm good with the curve now. Let's come into this gentleman here. Let's go ahead and grab a cast light. And now, he used a lighting layer. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that off. You can leave it on. I think that I'll probably, let's leave it on. Why not? And I move this up and I'm going to call this rim light. Okay, cool. Now the rim light, I'm going to use my soft brush again. I'm going to grab a color. I'm going to make it a light color. It's going to be kind of an off yellowish, whitish color, right? Let's go off a little yellow or a little orange here. All right, something right around here. And I'm going to just paint in ever so slightly. A little bit of that. All right. Now, that's a little strong, right? We're coming on a little strong. That's okay. Let's go ahead and change the blend modes up. I kind of like that. Ooh, the overlay is nice. And then let's go ahead and adjust this. Now, if you ever get this wrong, let me show you a trick here. You can always do an HSL adjustment. And I like doing my lights with HSL adjustments because if I decide that I want it to have a completely different feel, I can change the color of the light. I can change the intensity of the light. I can change the saturation of the light. So I like to put HSL adjustments on my lights so that I have ultimate flexibility. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off right now though, because I like the way that I did it. Now, he's got an HSL shift on his entire person there. What I would probably do is, you see how I'm adjusting that? I want to match the HSL shift to this actual piece. I think that that's going to be probably closer. All right, not going to be perfect. Now, the first one was perspective. The second one was to reuse the background. The third was the volumetric light. Then we're going to cast them in with the cast light. And now we're going to unify the layers. That is my fifth one. Now that I've got it quasi where I want it, and again, it's not perfect, right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to unify the layers. And above the group, I'm going to go ahead. Oops. I'm going to actually delete that pixel layer because I added it. Above the group, let's go ahead and add an adjustment. I like to unify using either gradient maps or selective color. I'm going to show you how to work with the gradient map. The gradient map takes the darks, right? And then it takes the whites, and then it takes the midtones. So the darks are red, the midtones are green, and in this case, the lights are blue, obviously, because that's where the light's coming from. I like to use these to unify, and I think because we've got the background and everything the way we do, I kind of want to do a blue in the darks. So I think I'm going to add a little blue cast to the dark. I'm going to delete this. And then I'm going to use a complementary color almost in like a greenish sort of yellow right about there. And now that looks like hot garbage, right? Let's go ahead and change the blend modes. Yeah, maybe like a 10% or so. I think that that looks pretty cool. All right. So, no unification, 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 no unification. I like that. The last thing that I'm going to do is I think that we could benefit from a levels adjustment. So I'm going to come up to levels, onto the person. So it's going inside of here. And when it comes to levels, where did we just put that? Let me find it. No, it's got to go inside of the person. There we go. All right, now we're back in business. I'm going to crank down the blacks a little bit so that we're unified. Crank up the whites a little bit. And then in the output white, I'm going to crank that down a little bit so that you see how that moves us back. kind of right in that area. I really like that. And this might force me to take my rim light and shrink that down ever so slightly. So I think that I'm quite happy with that. All right, now there's one more thing I want to do. I'm going to come into curves. And let's bring the curves down inside of here. All right. And now I want to add in a little bit more contrast with this guy. Okay. I think that that's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and check out the blues here. I want to add a little bit more blue. And notice that I added the curves after. That's good. Let's kick the greens down a little. Ooh, we're going to leave the greens right where they are. Let's try the reds. All right. So one more thing, layer, my filter layer. Let's sharpen this. Let's add a clarity filter. Boom. Push that guy up just a little, because objects in the foreground are a little bit more crisp than objects in the background. So you'll want to add that in. All right, we could keep going, but I wanted to keep this short. So the 5 things that I showed you in this one: how to change your perspective, background reuse, volumetric light, cast light, and creating unifying layers. Now, if you'd like me to edit one of your composites, I'm going to do at least one of these a week for the time that I'm in quarantine here. And so if you wanted to go ahead and submit a composite to me, I would like you to submit it to submissions@seventhseasonstudios.com. The email is down below. I will stop once I get to 5. And of course, this implies that I have the right to edit some of your images. So don't be surprised if you submit it and then I come up and I do the kind of editing that I'm doing here. Thank you so much for Bill for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one from 7th Season Studios.